Alright everyone, welcome again to some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2. So we're pretty much going through most of the investigation and we're nearly done, I believe. I think we have a few more to go and then we'll finally be off back to the trial once more. So if anything else guys, hope you all continue to enjoy watching and let's keep it going. Alright guys, and we are back. Alright, we're leaving. I believe we can go back to Sholmes' suite. Second of November, Sholmes' suite.
Mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, Bodend wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut.
What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Is this German? Ah, no, it's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? Iris, what's the matter? Who's that sprawling, that relaxed gentleman over there? Iris, is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl, a rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Ah! Mr. Sholmes, do you mean? The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of our reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. She's turned as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray do enjoy Orlok Sholmes' latest logic and reasoning spectacular. Oh, we got this going on again. The game is afoot. Man's identity. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's German, with no grasp of the English language. How funny would it be if this was really Iris' father? As evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is the man here at all, and in such an apparently high spirits? If you can call it that. The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel the particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirits sour, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. Now, to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the setting? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Ormstein. I hope I got that right. Otherwise, I apologize in advance for misconstruing that whole name. The King of Germany. my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question that mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed, wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So, the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. The King of Germany. Girls, silence. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable, yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason of your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A 5-pound note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is the secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes. We need only follow that brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Really? All that? To hide the coffee cup. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle. Nothing to say, I see. With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes? I must say, something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mr. Sato, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah! And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And, one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz the Prince testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide off the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. But one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. It's all about that coffee cup, huh? So, shall we embark again on a joint presentation of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? Alright. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is the man here at all and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel the particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling revealed by the herbal tea. So what, it's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing? Goodness, I should like to try some. I like to hear your singing, but this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stuck still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. Ah, so I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing, but I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris's gaze. Alright, well. Oh, well, we already knew that though. The gramophone. Wait, this is a gramophone. It's still rarely seen in our own country. The sound certainly appears to be coming from the horn. But machine singing? That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruhodo. What's right is changing too. It's too much for my brain. Well, at least we found our answer.
Take that!
The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. Really? You didn't notice that from the get-go? Ah, the music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the SETI? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ornstein, the King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question that mask belongs to the King of Germany. Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia, it seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young princess was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Master Gotz, the boy whom you had in tears? Don't remind me, or anyone else? Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably anyway. The point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right, as we all know. Because we can identify the true owner of this mask. Oh yeah, we know. There's only one other person wearing that mask before. My boy.
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question that mask belongs to Kazuma Asagi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing on this metal chest for several days, though that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. I don't believe it. Ah! Father! I'm afraid, Mr. Sato, you must— No! I think not, Mr. Sholmes. Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. this mysterious visitor. It's my unconscious father, Eugene Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning. Or just looking insane. The king of Germany, Eugene Mikotoba. Solved. Which leaves us with the one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason of your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. So that's a 5-pound note poking out from Iris's knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form. I know. I'm not even sure if we've seen any of banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would have never paid money for Iris' silence. He certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris' silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard to give away with is her eyes. It's something entirely different. Uh-huh. What are you hiding, Iris? Hold on, let's move this out of the way every time. There you go. Could it be the chest?
Take that!
Oh, I was right. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there is something different about that chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now, the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. Nah. No, Hurley, don't! Ow! Oh my gosh. Oh. Ah, that's what happened. Mr. Sholmes! He's dead. Never! Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris. Ah. In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... This is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm gonna have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite knowing the point of the finger before? Mr. Sato? Sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... let's move this out of the way again. Ah, look at that. A key.
Take that!
Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ah! When Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands, no doubt the key to the chest. You're so clever, Runo. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can now well imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikotoba also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the settee. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea, and above all, why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly, an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotoba opened the chest completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's finger. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the great detective's office, after all, a place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Runo! Thus concludes Ryunosuke's Naruhodo, great deduction of this punchy puzzle. So then why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. Mr. Sholmes! If you would cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. Ah! She is? From the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. It really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. It must have been smashed when Professor Mikotoba opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. But now that the deduction is taking a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, her great secret is something else. Let's put our observational skills to work here one final time then. Alright, I have a feeling I know where it is too. Hold on. Let me move this out of the way. Aha! That's what I figured. There's something under here.
Take that!
You were attempting to abscond with the case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh no. We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zeeks had gone missing. Clint Van Zeeks. Yes, I do seem to recall that some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are... I'm sorry. Forgive me! She's crying now. To hide the case file. Solved. Elementary. That was pretty incredible. I like that. In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted the booby trap chest. But it caught me completely off guard. I was very nearly the late consulting detective Herlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Hurley. So you mean this autopsy report really is? Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it, I knew it was Daddy's. The writing? Your father's writing? What do you really mean? Iris? It must be something that's hard for her to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, what is it? I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman on the settee has been somewhat forgotten. Ah! Father! Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? We must do our very best to make him comfortable, I feel. Oh, yes, of course. I'll help you carry him. So will I. No, I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris's brew to stew. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder. Perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Shumps is making himself scarce to give Iris the chance to talk more freely. We must use this opportunity to talk with Iris. And find out what's going on. Alright everyone, I'm going to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. I found this part of the whole team up deduction to be rather fulfilling. It was very funny. So, we're going to continue on in the next one, guys. Thank you again.